Welcome to Akasha Talks, a podcast on consciousness, healing, and different ways to interact and weave those together, both old and new, to be able to get the most out of your life. I'm your host, Lance Baker, coming to you from Newcastle, Australia. Hope you kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome, Cass and Monique. How are you both?
Good, thank you, Lance. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Little bit croaky, so my voice will sound a bit different, but mostly I'm good. I'm definitely not naughty today.
Today.
Anyway, uh, I've been talking with you guys for a little while about having you on because I like the thing you both guys do together. Uh, this thing called body synergy. Do you want to tell us a tiny bit about what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. First I was a little bit like, as you said that, I was like, whoa, there's so much ambiguity there. Like these Monique and I are twin sisters. We do a bunch of stuff together. But yes, body synergy is a course that we've developed and run a bunch of times now for parents and educators to connect with children unconsciously. And with their bodies. So there's heaps of stuff in the world about how to relate with children and what language to use and how to prompt them and stuff like that. But that's all verbal. It's all like how to say certain things, when to say it, what to do. Body synergy is a model in what do we call it? Like unconscious physical, like relating, basically. So the impacts of where you put your body, how you put your body, what you do when, and the effects of that on the children and how they respond to you.
Fantastic.
But I'm like going to be completely honest, I'm not the expert here, Monique is. So this model actually came from her expertise and her, I guess, how many years worth of working in the industry?
12 years. 12 years working in early education with a little break in the middle, but 12 years in total.
And that little break in the middle, did that happen to include raising your own?
Oh, we sure did. In fact, that break was taken very much because I had a 1-year-old at the time, and anyone that's got a 1-year-old would know that that time is precious.
Mhm.
We take it wholeheartedly, and that's what I wanted to do. So taking a break from the job that I loved at the time was important for my own family. That didn't mean that I was disconnected from children
No,
completely, though.
no, you amped up connection with one child.
Very much. Yeah.
Cool. And so you you just said there this was based in a modeling project.
Yeah.
Do you want to
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that, Cass?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, I am what's referred to as an NLP modeler. It's one of the things that I'm super interested in. And how long ago was it? It was about 2 years ago, I think. We were talking about a bunch of parenting stuff because even from the outside, so I'm not a parent, I'm not a childcare educator. I do love children, but it was even obvious to me from an outsider's perspective how good Monique was at her job. Even just stories about her coming home and being like, I helped this person do this today. I had a chat to that parent. They were asking these questions, and it was just really obvious to me that she's genuinely just brilliant. And I thought, all right, well, how about I practice my skills and like, you know, give myself like a bit of a test, a bit of a challenge, see what I can do and see if I can actually turn someone's expertise into a teachable model. I've been learning NLP for 4 years now. I've been an apprentice in Melbourne of James to Carlos, and I'm hoping that I pronounced that correctly. Please forgive me if I didn't. So I've been learning under him now for 3 years as an apprentice as well. So got a bunch of skills in NLP modeling as well as training. So I thought, why not give it a go? See if I can. I've got an expert here on tap. I live with her, right? So what we did is we sat down and we started talking about a bunch of things that she does. and we were talking about like the nonverbal communicating, and there was a particular thing where we were trying to work out about like body positioning in a space. So like maybe like, is it where you put yourself in a room? Is it like if you stand in the doorway? Is it better to give people more room or less room in regards to the effect that that has? And over time, we developed the model called body synergy, and it's got a bunch of components in it, but it's so simple. It's so simple, and that's the beauty of it, is it's really, really simple. And it means that I can actually teach this thing in a really, really transferable way. So I can get the whole model now from me to people that have heard not even what the model is called when they woke up in the morning, to then using it in a day, which is wild when you think about the amount of stuff we learn. Like in university, we learn things in 3 or 4 years. Now, it's not a whole degree, but it is nonetheless a really robust model for relating to tiny humans. But yeah, so I decided to test to see what I could do with my modeling skills, and then basically took it all the way to, I've got an expert that's amazing at a thing. I turned her expertise into a model, and then took that model and developed a training piece out of it. And we've now delivered the model multiple times and had incredible results. Incredible results. We went to visit a childcare centre recently, a couple months ago, to do just a check-in with one of their most senior educators. And senior is really important here. So this woman has been in the industry, I think, for over 15 years.
I think it was 15 years, yeah.
15 years. And she was telling us stories. I honestly almost fell off my seat multiple times, because she was telling us stories about how she's taken the model, and she really did, like, she put all of her industry experience aside to open her heart and her mind to this model in order to receive it and then embody it and take it with her, which, and credit to her, was an amazing thing to do. Amazing. And then she was telling us these stories about a non-verbal child in one of the rooms, that she used the body synergy model, applied it to that particular relationship, and now that child is receptive to not only her in new ways, but other educators and other children. And I was
Wow.
genuinely floored. So I asked, because thoroughness, I was like, let me
Mm.
just make sure that this is what this woman is saying. I was like, so all of those changes that you're describing to us right now, you credit body synergy for that. And I've never seen someone as certain as this woman was. So in the space of 10 seconds, I fell off my seat twice. But it really, really is just a special model. And I'm obviously biased because I did, like, I modeled it. It's been our thing from the start. But it's the only model so far that I've taken from kind of like conception of concept with my exemplar all the way to like it has a training. But I'm working on a bunch of other ones. It's actually so much fun having an expert on tap.
Mm.
But yeah, that's NLP modeling at the essence of it, is taking someone's expertise and turning it into stuff and teaching other people.
That's pretty profound that somebody with 15 years experience can play with some stuff she learned in a day and drastically change how like her business is operating of how she's doing stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's in the professional context. But as you said at the beginning, this is not just about professionals. This is about parents, which
Yeah. Yeah.
most parents are born into their born into their role of parenting with no idea what to do. Like you can read books, you can do things like that, but you don't have a clue till you start interacting with the kid of how to get there. And most parents learn a lot from mistakes along the way, or my parents did this, I'll do this, of what they've done. My parents did this, I've got trauma from that, I'm doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Swing the pendulum way too far, not find the right middle ground. That this just helps this from the sounds of everything I've heard of you've been saying here today and what Monique's told me over the past year is it's just about this connection with that child to be able to
see and feel what they need and help them feel seen and heard for what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So the interesting, oh, sorry, were you still asking a question?
Go.
The interesting thing about the way you started that question that I'd like to point out is that you said that it's not only for professionals in the early childcare industry, among other spaces, it's for parents. I would argue that body synergy is actually for children, facilitated by their adults.
That makes much more sense. Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy to misinterpret sort of a lot of what we do as parents and educators, that it's for us, or it's to make our lives easier, or it's to make the flow of something a little bit easier, or the morning or the routine. We forget that it's not just our morning, it's not just our flow, it's theirs too.
Yeah.
I think when we understand that we're relating to children and the way that we move, the way that we communicate non-verbally makes a difference to their experience as a whole. And then via things like body synergy, we learn that we have more control, or that we have more autonomy in the way that we do communicate non-verbally. That impacts the way that they function around us
Yes.
via our facilitation. So
Yeah.
there's lots of flow-on effects of that sort of communicating in regards to connection and relationships and safety and understanding. There's just so many benefits to communicating in a way that's available and aware.
Yeah. And from lots of what you've said as well, it's lots of it seems like it just stems down to connection.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when children know that we're interested in connecting with them and we're communicating those other things as well, they're more open to feedback and support and love and anything else that we're facilitating as an adult. If you aren't connecting and you're trying to have a conversation with them, how susceptible are they if they think that they're not important, or if they think they're not seen or heard? Like, yeah, who's having that conversation? That's a one party.
Yeah. I have seen plenty of child adult interactions though where that is the case. It's
Yeah,
demands, this is how it is, this is what's happening, and you just watch the kid shut down and it doesn't go anywhere. Um, and sadly though, lots of parenting advice will say things like that will push aside connection to make the thing happen. Um, and you said it's for the child, but that's if the child's happy and feeling safe, everybody benefits. Maybe.
sorry, wait. I think if a child is feeling happy and safe, everybody benefits, because if a child's feeling unsafe, how likely are they to open up to you? And if we're talking those really formative years, we're talking like body synergy is applicable to babies, right? Like it's not applicable. So you're talking body synergy and where you put your body in relationship with a child, and you've got a baby that's not walking yet, and you want to make sure that your body is available to them. You're not going to be standing over them or standing so close that they have to arch their neck up to see you. You want to be in a position where you're available to them. So that's where that connecting comes in physically. And then they're feeling safe in those early formative years. That has a flow-on effect into later years. They're not going to have had the years of putting up those walls and making blockades when relating to people, because they've been able to connect. So we don't end up with 5 and 6 year olds that are still having trouble learning how to be available, or that don't think that adults around them are actually available. So, and then I imagine that that would have a flow-on effect into, primary school age groups, and then moving on into high school and even in adulthood. There's plenty of benefits to connecting to people, both young, old, babies, adults, siblings, anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is where I can see this is like insanely beneficial for like a lot of people, for something you can learn in a day.
Yeah.
In a day.
Well, so when Monique and I were talking a lot about this and developing it together, we were talking about it in the context of children, and obviously in the context of early education. So between 0 and 5, I think, was mostly like what we were talking about, like context.
Yeah.
But we also, so after we kind of started building out the model, we started playing with it, and Monique took it to work, and I'll let you speak about that because that was really cool. But I was like, well, I don't work with children, so what am I going to do? So I started playing with it with adults. Now, some of it isn't as relevant to adults as it is to children, but half of the model is actually quite relevant and quite applicable to adults. So I started playing with where I'm putting my body in a room, paying attention to context, like, am I currently having a heated discussion with someone? Am I not? Like, just blending a bunch of stuff with my, like, how I'm taking up space physically, which we speak to in body synergy. But you did some really cool stuff after we developed the model, even though it came from you, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you took it to work.
I did. So the model in its simplicity has got 4 key areas or 4 principles that we discuss and that we train and practice over the day that we teach it. And it's elevation, environment, situation, and respect. So elevation obviously being your height, environment being aware of what's physically in your space, so not just the children or child, but also tables, chairs, doors, all of that sort of thing. Situation is basically just situational awareness, so what's going on relationship wise, and then respect is that big thing that we really, everyone's got a different version of, but people, humans deserve respect, so that's embedded in our practice in body synergy as a model. And I started playing with elevation initially because it's one of the easier ones and it's pretty simple. If you're talking to a little one and they're standing at half your height, you bend down and you chat to them and you get a completely different response. I saw this play out well, or interestingly, with a baby that was crawling, when I would enter the room that I was working in at the time, because they had a full glass door, but then there was a half kind of like wooden door, so the children could see me coming. And at the end of the hallway, I'd get to this half door and I would see a child that him and I had a bit of a thing, like, you don't have favorites, but him and I would have a bit of a cuddle as soon as I got there, kind of thing. And I opened the gate and he spotted me, and he'd always spot me within 3 seconds of getting anywhere near that gate. And so I'd close it behind me and I'd pop my bag down where it was safe next to me, and I would lie like straight upright and then just like whoop down onto the floor, and I would just wait on the floor for my little crawling buddy, and he would hoof it, like arms going, he's like commando crawling, and he'd get to me and he would just put his head on my shoulder so I could give him a cuddle, and he would just stay there. And that was how I started my day most days. Because he would spot me so quickly, and I was like, well, here we go. So of course you get down and you have the cuddle and that connection that we're talking about, that like, oh yeah. But I also experimented in routines as well, because routines are just magic so far as children go, and if you can nail them, then like easy, right? So easy. One of the other ways I experimented with elevation at work was nappy change tables have stairs often that pull out from the bench. so that children can climb up them for OH&S and back safety for adults. We don't want to be picking children up all day. And another child who would have a little bit of trouble getting up into this routine, I started kneeling down in a very tight space with the stairs. And then there was this little handle, because it was a wooden set of stairs that would come out. There was a little handle hole that I could see through. So I would poke my eyes and look at him. And because I was on his level and I wasn't standing like most educators did, I was like, hello, my friend. And he thought it was the funniest thing that I was that close and that I was at his eyesight. And he would like move up the stairs to kind of get closer to me.
Yeah.
So when he started kind of going, I was like, all right, cool, we've got some momentum. Let's like keep moving. And then that was like that little bit, that little shift at the start of that routine, that connection, that elevation, and they all blend, but a bit of situational awareness as well. This is a child that doesn't particularly like this routine. So if I can get him before that upset or that normal thing kicks in, then it's just going to make it nicer for everyone, isn't it, really?
Mm.
And that was just super fun too. I loved playing with this. I was like, whoa, what can I do?
Yeah, it's pretty handy when you realize the things you unconsciously are doing that you can then have conscious control over.
Yeah, and bringing it to the surface and playing and kind of knowing how these things worked. Once we kind of brought out what it looked like, you go, okay, like I know all these things separately. What do they actually do?
Yeah.
Like what differences can I make? What experiences don't have to be the way they've always been now that I know something different?
Yeah. And so has the model changed a bit with that conscious experimentation of things, or it's just still stayed the same? It's just, oh, here's a new place I can put it into.
No, it actually stayed the same, which is really cool. So I initially modeled it out. We had our 4 categories. I remember we were sitting in my living room at the time, and I had a whiteboard in my house because, of course, I have a whiteboard in my house now. And it was just up in the lounge room, and Monique just rattled off 4 things. And by the way, this is how multiple models that we've since developed started. She just rattles off things, and I'm like, oh, that seems important. So I wrote these 4 things up, and I was like, all right, talk to me about these 4 things. What's going on here? And we did, like, we fleshed it out, we tested it, we like poked it, like I tried to find holes in it, tried to see if there was anything else in there. There wasn't. So it actually hasn't changed. Like there's just a part of Monique that was like, here's all of it. Let's go.
Fantastic.
Yeah. The even the course that I've since developed from the model hasn't actually changed much. It's kind of evolved in the components of it, and some of the ways that I deliver it have like evolved, but the shape of it hasn't changed, which is cool. So yeah, like I'm definitely like still like testing stuff, making sure that people are getting great value out of both the model and the course. But to answer your question, no, like it hasn't changed much at all.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the NLP stuff, has that helped shape the way, like you said, you've organized and designed how that workshop flows?
The training course, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it has. So the way that I learned NLP and the way that I since like value NLP in training is very much in person and in depth. I want people getting it into their bones. I want them up and like practicing the things that we're talking about. I'm not just going to deliver a bunch of stuff at you, expect you to retain it, and then go test it in the world without knowing how it plays out, right? So the course itself is with the model, and it's a little bit chaotic at the start because I put people into exercises without knowing what's coming, because I want them to work it out and see what happens. Like if we do this, how do you feel? And if we do that, how do you feel? And what happens if we try it this way? And so in that regard, like every course is different because I've got a bunch of different people in the room and they do things a little bit differently. And some people find certain ways of relating physically more and less comfortable than other ways. So we get a bunch of difference in the room, but nonetheless, we still end up with kind of a general consensus of what's comfortable and what's a little bit less comfortable. So yeah, and this is why it does take a day, because I could just talk to, like, I could, like, right now, how long have we got? Right now, I could, like, rattle off a bunch of the model and someone could understand it intellectually up here, right? But
Mm.
I want it everywhere else. I want it completely embodied, which is why the training takes a day, because we're going to spend a lot of time working stuff out together. And NLP, like, I got that from NLP. So instead of things being delivered at people, I learned the value of, like, discovery. So facilitating discovery, letting people play and work things out by themselves, and then helping them kind of take it from what they've understood of the exercises, and then kind of blending that with the model itself.
Yes. Yeah. I can see the value in it. I've
Yeah.
spent a lot of time in the same room as the James you were talking about earlier, and
Yeah.
done prac and master prac with him. And I come back from that and redesigned a course I've ran for like 8 years now. That's been pretty much the same way for at least the last 6 or 7 of that, and
Yeah.
played with different things of the same sort of stuff. What you just described, which I know less of than you. You've spent more time with James than I have, uh, and implemented it like 2 weeks ago, um, and just watched the way like that changed flow and different bits of getting things into somebody's body made a huge impact with what those 8 students walked away with of their learning. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's
Yeah. Yeah, it's
handy the different
pretty.
way little tricks of that can help boost somebody's learning capacity and make it natural that it flows later on. I had a message from one of those students just this morning of like things they've been doing of integrating stuff, and how natural that's felt to them. Uh, and they'd learnt Reiki once before, many years before.
Oh.
This is a Reiki class, and they didn't have that before. When they learn it the other way. So I can really see how that educator you were talking about with 15 years experience has been able to let something just happen within their daily work life to
Mm.
have profound changes happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really cool way of training. The kind of, if I could, like, put it succinctly, I would guess, like, the discovery stuff, like the um like, for what we're talking about here, I'm going to call it fluffing around and finding out. So
You're allowed to say it the other way, but somebody
um,
might be listening to this with their child, so maybe that's a good idea.
um, so, like, there definitely, like, is huge amounts of value in that discovery process, and then, like, the debriefing it and working out, like, what's consistent here, and then, like, after that, like, blending in the actual model, and then like, we do a bunch of storytelling. So we tell some of our stories, and we ask educators and parents to share some of theirs, like, how have you seen this play out? Like, let's talk about the times that this went amazingly, but let's talk about the times where body synergy was a little bit raw. Like, let's talk about, like, when maybe it wasn't, like, the best place you could have put your body, and I've got plenty of those stories, my God. So I love, like, hearing about people's stories, because I really want people to, because we can't tell what's going to happen in the future, right? But we've all got a past. So let's talk about some of the stories in the past that you can reflect on, where body synergy was amazing, like, nailed it, no notes, right? But let's talk about some of the ones where, like, it went badly, and, like, what could have been done differently. We spend heaps of time talking about that too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Monique, since this got pulled from your consciousness in the past couple of years,
Hmm.
and you have a tiny human,
Hmm.
and you have a twin who is not a mother of a tiny human. What you've noticed of a difference within how Cass relates with her nephew now?
Oh, that's a fun question. Okay. Okay, I feel like we're both checking out the underside of the bus now. All right.
I was going to ask you first, Cass. I was like, no, actually, this is going to be better coming from Monique.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take the wheel.
So Cass, after we spoke a lot about the the stuff we were working on, just all of it succinctly. I remember that day with the whiteboard and putting up the four things. And I remember being adamant on how important it was. Like, I don't know if you remember that, but I was like, no, this is important. Like, you've put tiny little notes on a whiteboard, and I don't think you quite understand. This stuff is really important. And I didn't know until I'd said it, but yes, so we modeled out and we talked about it, and Cass started implementing and playing with it immediately. And I think along the same lines as the learning you were both just talking about, when did we decide that adults learn differently than children? Children play to learn. Let's just do some more playing. So Cass started playing almost immediately. And I saw this happen at home in the way that she was talking to my son. I saw it in the way that she would play with him moving between spaces. We've got a house where you can actually just run around like a single wall. So where is she putting her body in relationship to that? Where does she stop? Where is she having conversations with him from? We've got a hallway. Are we having a conversation in a hallway where he can't move up or down? Or if like what's going on there? And my favorite one of all of them was body synergy in a shopping center, because there's the patterns on the floor. So there was lots of hopping and skipping and jumping and just playing in a way that's he's playing, I'm playing. This is what we're doing. This is how we connect and how we relate. And we don't necessarily need to be aware of the environment in regards to doors and walls, but we're aware that there's stripes on the floor, you know, and then just hopping. I think I've got the most beautiful photos.
The shopping center floors regularly have patterns on them, but our local one has like kind of like zigzagged, like darker tiles on them, and they're perfect jumping distance. Like no notes, like whoever did that, fantastic. But obviously Tiny Humans decides, of course, every time we're on them we jump. And I am fortunate to be like physically fit. So if he jumps, I jump, let's go. He doesn't say how high, but he does say jump.
My local shopping center has the same sort of thing. It's got like marbled sort of tiles of black and white. Most of it's white, but there's these spots that there's a lot of the black ones that are close, but then they start to disperse and they get really fast. There's fade out bits, and then and my son has always like hopped on them for a long time, and I've quite often will do the same with him, or I just expect him to be doing it and I'll be maneuvering to like make sure the crowd is safe from him. But about 6 months ago, I was doing it with him, and I have crashed into this guy. He would have been about 30. I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, man." He just cracked up laughing. He goes, "No," he goes, "it wasn't too long ago. I was doing the same thing with these tiles. Like, I get it, man. I get it."
Yeah.
So, it's a common thing with kids with that stuff and shopping centers.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that for a second.
I'm curious about the nature of that last question, because there's a bit in there that I'd love to know about, and now I'm getting a little bit selfish now. I'd love to know, like, have there been any like relational consequences between the tiny human and I since we developed this model and since I started playing with it?
Great question. I was pondering that while I was talking about my favorite story about the shopping center floor. I think that there's definitely relational consequences for you and him, for sure, because when you, like we've spoken about a couple of times, when you consider the essence of body synergy and being aware of all of this stuff, it does innately come with being present. Like if you're not aware of your height and you're not aware of your environment or your situation or being respectful, it would be very easy to assume that one person might not be present, or vice versa, you can assume that you have to be present to be aware of all of these things. So body synergy has all of its components and this assumption of being present, which gives so much richness and depth to the connection that you have, or that you're fostering, or you're developing as you go. So there's definitely been relational things, and you are one of his favorite people.
That's because I look like his mum.
I'd be surprised
Sure,
if
he
that's the
knows
case,
big
but
differences.
I've got a cheat code. That's all I'm saying. I've worked it out.
Yes. So, Caston, how about you? What do you think? Do you think it's made a difference for you of how you connect with this tiny human?
I love that I didn't see that question coming. Yeah, I think it has. I think, and it's a little bit tricky to notice exactly what's happened, because we, like, him and I genuinely have been like best friends, like almost since he was born. Like there's always been like a really strong, like unconscious like connection there.
Mhm.
But it's like I've noticed that in the past, I've always like vibe matched him. Like if he wants to like go for a run, or if he wants to jump across tiles, or like he wants to like, oh my God, the ice cream truck's around the corner, like let's go. Like, yes. I have the luxury of fun aunt status, so I don't have to worry about how much ice cream he's eating. I'm like, I've got coins, let's go. But since then I've noticed that he's more responsive to my lead, which is cool.
Yep.
So instead of him just being like ice cream and me being like hell yeah, he's now more responsive to my lead in a way that he wasn't before. And I think this is where the connection is the foundation for like whatever comes next. So it's easier to lead him if we've got good connection, whereas it's way harder to lead him if the connection's not there.
Yeah. Cool. That's
so
awesome.
realized you have a much easier time with the trickier times of the days.
Oh yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So that was definitely a thing that was a practicing skill.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh boy, did I have to practice that one.
And I think body synergies definitely helped with that, because de-escalating is much easier with those things in play.
Yeah.
With the tools in the toolkit, and everything that's there now.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I would. There is something in there that I really want to address. Body synergy isn't a model for when a child is elevated or escalated. So for those tricky moments, it's not for that. It's for general like connecting and relating. You can use it in those moments, but I would advise using it with other things in tandem. In the context of an escalated or a tricky moment. So like, yes, like the tricky moments are way easier. And like as someone who's not a parent and not a childcare educator, like those tricky moments were really overwhelming for me. Especially when I moved in to this house and started living with a tiny human. Oh boy, did I learn fast. Yeah. It's like, okay, I would like there was a couple of times where like the tiny human would go down for the night and I'd be like, okay, do you guys want a cup of tea? I have questions. Like what are we doing here? So yeah, I got the rundown real fast. But having Monique and Monique's models and the models we've been developing and getting the chance to just play heaps was wildly beneficial for me in regards to the connection, the relating, and my ability to lead him.
This could be completely off center, but things I've picked up from talking with you over the past year, Monique, with stuff like this, and from my own experiences with parenting, is this model might not help as much with the when they're dysregulated bit, like you just said there, Cass, but it sounded to me like it helps keep them in that regulated state easier, or not get as far into dysregulation, because the connection's there, they're anchored into a safety. That you're not needing to stress about what happens when they're dysregulated as often, because it's not happening as often.
Yeah, it's definitely got the potential to do that. I think that when we see children's emotions or like dysregulation, for want of better explanation, as a bit of a trajectory, and then it kind of comes up and it reaches like a peak, and then there's a de-escalation that happens. There's that kind of the peak of that last little bit. I don't know what number it might be or how to represent it exactly, but that last little bit is kind of, in my experience, it seems to be a point of no return.
Yeah.
So once they kind of get to that top arc, you go,
This is happening.
okay. And then you got it. Yeah, basically. Yeah. And that kind of that bit before it, if you have got the opportunity to curb it, like with body synergy or different models, different techniques, different tools, basically, then yeah, if you can kind of miss that big curve at the top where you're like point of no return, this is really roller coaster, then yes, I think that connecting, that presence, that availability, that awareness does minimize that happening as much. It's not going to stop it every time. I'd be surprised if someone was to ever be like, yes, this works 100% of the time with children. I think that if someone had that, we might actually get a manual at the hospital.
Yeah,
when we go home
exactly.
with our babies. So yes, I think that being present and de-escalating as best you can before you get to that point of no return is useful, and body synergy does have the capacity to do that or support people doing that in those moments, for sure.
I think Monique's being a little bit modest in that regard. Body synergy definitely helps keep you beneath that point of no return, for sure. I've used it for both myself and for said tiny human. And also, if you've built a foundation over time of good relating and good connecting, then it's way easier to keep them like beneath that threshold of no return. Way
Yes.
easier. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed with my son, like I'm not using body synergy, but with things Monique said, there seems to be a lot of little bits of that I've picked up from somewhere, somehow between my two kids at some stage, that the tools I use to intervene to stop hitting that point of no return peak, I don't have to do as much now as I did when my son was younger. Whether that's he's self-regulating better or whether he's safer in how he feels, that he knows it'll get caught, that he doesn't stress himself out to get to that spot as much. I do notice there's something with that when kids feel safer and seen and understood.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that's the stuff that body synergy does. So no, body synergy is not like directly going to keep you out of that threshold. But again, like over time, if you're building that connection, that safety, they know that like you're going to catch them, like all of that kind of stuff, then it's easier for the two of you to work together as a team to stay beneath that threshold, for sure. Yeah.
And so, because what are some Monique, what are some things that you think are common things that parents will often struggle with, of the shapes of behavior that kids might have, or different parenting tactics that might just be contradictory to what might actually work with a child?
Ooh, okay. Oh, I get to rattle. All right. Hang on. To follow on from the point of no return kind of conversation arc that we're just having, one of the interesting things I found out fairly recently in the last year via an occupational therapist was that there's actually a distinguishable number for how long that meltdown lasts, that meltdown. I say instead of tantrums just because I don't like the word, but they're the same, that event that we've all been privy to. And it's a 6-minute de-escalation, basically. And it's not a 6-minute de-escalation to them being okay. What it is it's actually, there's your thinking brain, and then there's your amygdala, I think, is the part of your brain. So when children have those tantrums and meltdowns, their amygdala actually hijacks what's going on and their ability to regulate, and they're not using their thinking brain anymore. So when they're having that tantrum, that's what's happening, is you're talking and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So a 6-minute timer I use regularly for my son actually stops me trying to renegotiate or logic my way through these meltdowns.
Mhm.
And then when the 6-minute timer goes off, you've got the capacity to go, okay, ready to chat about it now. Let's see if we can work it out. Now, I did do quite a bit of playing with this, and I worked out the hard way that it doesn't actually mean your child calms down within that 6 minutes, because mine was still very unhappy after the 6-minute timer went off.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, now we just have a talk about it. And the tip or the thing that I have to offer anyone that's listening or interested is the 6-minute timer you can put on when your child starts having a meltdown. And I mean kind of point of no return meltdown, like not like the start where you can still kind of recover. And then you don't interrupt them. So as long as they're safe and they're not breaking anything, they're okay. Even if it's an internal thing, you put on your 6-minute timer and you don't interrupt them, because every time you try to re-engage or start negotiating, their 6 minutes restarts. So you might as well restart the timer. This is how we have tantrums that last longer than 10 minutes, 20, half an hour. Like, I've seen it. I've had plenty of power struggles that have lasted longer than 6 minutes, I'm here to say, as we
Yeah.
all probably have. So that little tip, a 6-minute timer, goes a long, long way, and it feels like a long time, but you can always come back and renegotiate after. And, we can do that debrief, have a little conversation about what happened, what was okay, what we might not have liked so much. My child regularly comes and sits on my lap at about 3 minutes. And I have to very, very calmly go, okay, the 6-minute time is not finished. He still can't think. He just wants to be connected.
Yeah.
So we have,
Suck on.
yeah. And it's like the pull to be like, oh, he's fine now though.
Yeah.
I could talk to him. No, you're shaking your head. No, you're right. Not yet.
Not yet.
Just wait. That 6-minute timer is magic, I promise. You've used that quite a few times too.
So many times.
Yeah.
So many times. I don't think I'm as good at it as you are. I have accidentally tried to, and this is like, I understand it intellectually, but it's not in my body yet. So I have accidentally tried to renegotiate with him, not realizing that what I was saying was an attempt at renegotiating, and then had to reset the 6 minutes. I'm like, okay, well, my bad, fair enough. Okay, I'm gonna go sit down in the hallway for a minute. But no, the 6 minutes makes a huge difference.
In all fairness as well, though, like when a young human is dysregulated, 6 minutes feels like a lot longer than 6 minutes.
It certainly does.
Those
Yep.
seconds are ticking
It
by slow.
certainly feels like a 6 with a 0 on the other side of it. Yeah, they do. They do. It is a long 6 minutes, but doing it for one lot of 6 minutes is better than accidentally resetting it every 3 and then going for half an hour.
Exactly. Yes.
For sure. For
Yep.
sure. Yeah. And like Monique said, as long as they're safe and they're not damaging anything or hurting anyone or throwing limbs around and stuff like that, then it's actually like, it's kind of okay as long as you can like just like dissociate from it for a second. So like if they're in their room and there's like having a little bit of a meltdown in there, I'll usually just go sit in the hallway where I can still hear him. Like I've still got some kind of like sensory experience of him. So I know if he's about to hurt himself or break something or something like that, I can like quickly still interact. But no, it's kind of just, you just sit there and hang out for 6 minutes. I'm like, oh, wait, that's all right. I told him where I'll be. Like I always tell him where I'll be. I'm like, hey, buddy, like, no worries. I feel your feelings. That's so fine. I'm just going to go sit in the hallway. Let me know when you're ready. And if he comes out like he usually does within the 6 minutes, then we just hug for 2 or 3. Yep.
That's so cool. I didn't know about the 6-minute thing, but like I've had a rough idea of something that's around that, because I've had that same thing of like making the mistake of, like what you said, they've come, they've connected, and you're like, okay, let's talk about no.
Nope. No one's
See,
ready
so
yet.
this is like you understand it both into, or no, this is kind of the opposite thing because you like had it in your body. You're like, okay, like don't know why that was a mistake, but nonetheless it was a mistake. But now
Yeah,
you got it intellectually. This is cool, right? This is like
yeah.
this
I've
is
had
the
the
opposite
experience
direction.
of knowing, and since then, it's like we like just sit with stuff and
Yeah.
get a feeling of it's time now that we can talk about something, we can move
Mm.
on and reintegrate. Uh, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a very cool little like tidbit that I got, and it was almost a throwaway sentence, except for I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I have more questions about that 6 minute thing that you just said. Because what was
yeah.
that?
Mm.
So very great.
With adults, it's quite often there's a thing of like a 90-second thing for where
Mm.
emotions are there. Like once an emotion is triggered, it's only there for 90 seconds unless you're re-triggering and re-triggering and re-triggering. I
Oh,
first heard about that in regards to anger, like uh, over a decade ago. And I'm pretty sure it was James that said something about it a few months ago that made me realize that it's just emotions. It's not like anger.
mm.
Um, but yeah, we refuel that bit there. So part of that 6 minutes could be like they're going to tick that box themselves in their own thinking for the first little bit, and
Yeah.
that's enough time that a kid might be free from that. I'd be curious how much the math is there for humans that adults
I
are big.
so when you said for adults, I almost laughed out loud, because I wasn't sure where you were going with that. But and I don't know like what the research is or anything like that. I don't even know like anecdotally what it might say. But I have genuinely set 6 minute timers for myself. I'm like, I need, like I gotta go sit in the hallway. Like, oh boy, am I not fit for public consumption right now? I'm just gonna go like just go time out myself. So like, and this is one of those things where like human to humans, right? Like tiny human, big humans, right? We all have these experiences. And this kind of loops back to like the respect component of body synergy. Um, because like cool, like tiny humans have the same full range of emotions that we have, but they don't have the reps in. So they don't know that frustration and anger might look the same. They
Mm,
don't know that like what's another one? Like excited and happy feel different, or like excited for yourself and excited for someone else feels different, right?
Mm.
But we have that emotional literacy that they don't. So, like for me, I'm like, cool, I've got some big feelings right now. I'm gonna go like I'm gonna take this concept that was initially posed to me for children and apply it to myself because I need a minute.
Mhm.
Right, like I'm not ready to negotiate. My brain is firing on all cylinders from a really unresourceful space right now. So I'm just gonna go like time out.
Yep.
But the other thing about emotions and children is, again, full spectrum of emotions, but children don't have the reps in for it. This is where we get a chance to demonstrate feelings and help them label things. So if a tiny human looks frustrated, you can say things like, oh, buddy, like that looks frustrating. What could we do to make it a bit easier? Or, oh, hey, you look a little bit angry right now. Or you sound angry, whatever it is that's giving you the impression that they're angry, label that because it helps bring their emotional literacy
Mhm.
to their own skill.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that was the most well-formed sentence, but you know what I mean.
yes.
So this is like, especially with emotional literacy, it's a great opportunity to demonstrate resourcefulness to children,
Mhm.
which is cool.
That's
Yep.
cool.
There was a point in time where my tiny human had 3 emotions in total that he would recognize, and if I offered any other words, he would tell me no. He was either happy, sad, or my heart's broken, and those were his only 3 emotions for a good 6 months. So there was a lot of times that Mama broke his heart, and I was like, okay, we might need to work on our our variety.
Oh, and by the way, so I remember one particular story, and like the brokenheartedness of this tiny human, you would expect it to be things like, oh, like I'm I don't even know what like tiny humans might have broken hearts about, but there was one particular night where he went to sleep for the night and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get some ice cream and some apple crumble. Oh yeah. So I made some for Monique, and she was sitting in the living room, which is kind of in a spot where you can see the hallway, and his bedroom is halfway down the hallway. And we didn't realize he wasn't asleep yet. So I gave Monique her bowl of ice cream and apple crumble, and I sat down to mine, but I couldn't see down the hallway because I was on the couch. And we heard tiny human footsteps. And then he came out, looked in Monique's bowl, and was like, oh, can I have some? And she was like, no, baby, like maybe like let's talk about it tomorrow. And he went, okay. And he turned around, he walked down the hallway, walked into his room, and then stuck his head out and was like, Mama, you broke my heart. And then just went back inside. So when we say his three emotions were happy, sad, and brokenhearted, that's the kind of brokenhearted we're talking about.
Yeah. This is it, yeah.
Oh God. He is also very funny. He's a very, very funny tiny human.
Yep.
I think he actually went to sleep after that. Didn't he ask for ice cream for breakfast the next day though?
Oh yeah, he remembers everything. Most of them do. You can't bribe a child or promise them something and expect them to forget about it. That is a huge mistake.
Correct.
Correct.
Remember.
Learn from experience, yes.
Yes. I with my eldest son when he was very, very small, not super small, but small, a lot smaller than he is now. He'd asked for like a video game for his birthday, like 4 months before his birthday, and I was like, "Yeah, we can get that." And then he didn't mention it again. And there was this other video game he was asking about before his birthday and whatever, and so like he got that one. And then I open up his presents, and he's like, "Well, where's the Luigi game?"
You said
What?
4 months ago.
And I'm like, "What Luigi game?" And he's like, "You said you'd get me this." Oh, that was a long time ago. And I was like, he's right. I said yes. He didn't think that was in the renegotiations. So we went out and he had an extra birthday present I had to buy. It's like, I'm going to be true to my word with this.
Good job on the integrity there,
Calling
Lane.
me. But from now on, any new game that come up that he was asking for birthdays or Christmases was a yes. But remember, in between now and then, there might be something else released you want. We'll have to have conversations closer.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question. I'm like, how many times did you make that mistake, Lance?
Once.
Just the once? Just the once. All right.
Once.
Once is sometimes enough to learn some stuff.
Yeah. Not repeated with second child mistake.
Yeah, nice.
Have you heard the Santa like photos trick?
No.
So if you go out and it's close to their birthday or Christmas and they say that they want something, you go, oh, it's a great idea. Let's take a photo and send it to Santa.
Yes.
You take a photo and then you've just got a whole bunch of stuff that they want on your phone before Christmas and you're like, now I've got a shopping list.
I do a similar thing, but not quite. For Nonna, my mum. She doesn't live in the same town. She can't take him to the shops and do things. It was like, we better get some ideas for Nonna. And so we just go to Big W and Kmart and stuff, take heaps of photos, send them up. I take him to shops that like she doesn't have access to. They're not in her town. I'm doing research.
You got to do what you got to do, Lance.
Yep.
The other tip that I was thinking of earlier today was about being a role model. This one came up earlier this week, and I've been pondering it for a couple of days, only a couple of days, so I don't know how well formed it is. But I was thinking about how people choose to be role models. And like this happens in early childhood, and this happens with parents and stuff. And I think there's particular times where you choose to be a role model. Like, all educators need to wear their hats outside, of course, because we're a Sun Smart Childcare Centre, for example, and we want to make sure all the children are wearing their hats. So we're role modeling wearing a hat so that the children wear their hats, which is best practice. Like role modeling is hands down one of the best things you could do. But one of the things I realized recently, which is it kind of comes back to common shapes of problems, is you don't actually get to choose when you're being a role model.
No.
No, yeah, that one hit for a second. Yeah, so The interesting thing about it is we think, oh, I put my hat on, I'm being a role model, or I'll use my manners, I'll say please and thank you. I'm a role model. And then we forget that our language patterns, that the ways we relate to people, that the time that we spend and the ways we talk to each other, the way we respect our partners or our home people, our units, those are all times that we're being role models too. And if you're not as resourced or you're not doing as well in those places as you might like to, that's also something that's being role models. And it's interesting because children will often take on patterns or struggles that their parents are having and then replay them. So
Yes.
this happens so often that I had a conversation with a parent a little while ago about a child's negativity, very quick negative responses to questions and to situations. And I gave her a lot of little tips and tricks. And I said, listen, the last thing I can offer you is that there might be someone in this child's world that is responding negatively very quickly as well. And there's a chance that they've seen it and now they're just pressing replay on what they've seen. And mum thought about it for a second and she went, oh. It's like, okay, so there's an idea of something that's going on. And she's like, yeah, okay. I said, if you'd like to shift the way your daughter is relating to things, maybe also speak to that person or just see what you can shift in the environment that might make the difference. Because this stuff does come from somewhere and it's really easy to say, put your hat on and say your pleases and thank yous. You're a role model, except for you're a role model all the time. So that's a big little thing, a little big thing. I don't know. It's a thing.
It is, yes. And at the start of that, like you said, people choose to be a role model, but they don't choose when. The same bit as there's people involved that didn't choose to be a role model that just are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that woman's might have been, oh, that's me. Or it might have been, oh, that's like, yeah, my sister who sometimes comes to visit, or
Yeah, might
my
be.
neighbor that comes around every day for like an hour and just whinges about life and my kids around playing
Yeah.
little cars or Lego or whatever.
It could be
And
grandma or grandpa that's coming around every, other weekend because they love spending time with their grandkids. They could like, who knows? I didn't get the aha moment behind the
yeah,
but it's really interesting stuff to think about. Yes, these children are their own little identities, but they're not a product of their own little bubble.
yes. And I also like the way you said they replay it.
Mhm.
Um, for lots of kids, the first couple of times they do that sort of stuff, from what I've noticed with my kids, is they're actually playing
Yeah.
it. They're replaying what they've observed to feel it out, to see what it's like.
Is it almost like role playing? So you've kind of got like role modeling and then role playing, and then they're
Hmm,
trying it on to see if it fits.
yeah. And
Hmm.
this is what I'm meant to do because this is what the people that I copy do.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
and it's actually a really cool strategy and technique that you can utilize for the other way around. Actually, you can do role modeling and playing in a like home house environment to play model behaviors that you'd like to see children actually adopt and put on in that circumstance. So you can utilize it the other way around as well.
yeah.
So if you've got like a dinner setting and you want to have a bit of a tea party, you could say, "Oh, please, may I have a cup of tea?" And you can like say, "Oh, thank you so much," and then make it a bit of a play thing, and then you're more likely to have a bit more of those things embedded into
Mm.
general life stuff from there. So it kind of does filter both ways. It's a bit of a loop.
Yeah, so you can leverage the relationship between those two things, reverse engineer it
Mhm.
to demonstrate the behavior that you'd like to keep seeing. Is that, yeah, cool.
Yeah. But if you want to know what you want to pay attention to the way your child's playing at home about kinder, like if they're playing kinder games, you might get an idea of like what kind of games they're playing at kinder
Yep.
or like at school. You might learn what kind of teacher is at school if you're listening to how a child's playing schools.
Yeah, I had that recently with a niece of mine. She was playing schools with one of her cousins, and it was fantastic. It was so funny. It was and like kind of funny, haha, but kind of like, okay, all right. Because she was like, let's play schools. I'm gonna be the teacher. And I was like, all right, well, how's this gonna play out? And basically what she facilitated in role of teacher was, okay, everyone lay on the floor and be quiet so I can rest for 5 minutes. And I was like, okay,
Teach that
cool.
hangover.
Yeah. I was like, all right, if I was a parent, I would be like, what's going on here? But as a fun aunt, I was like, I kind of relate, to be fair. Like, I imagine if I was a teacher, I would probably also be tired.
Yeah, this is why kinder teachers play dead fish.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I realized that as an adult. I personally, when I was little, loved dead fish. I was like, I'm gonna win this game so good. Tell him, but I was like, I'm gonna be so still. And then I'd like glitch myself out and lose, of course, because I was so excited about winning. Um, but as an adult, I was like, oh, dead fish was a break. All right, cool. So like kind of having the adult perspective, I was like, I still rate it though, because I loved it when I was a kid, and now as an adult, I'm like, it's a break.
I still
So
love
it's
it.
a still good game. Like,
I'm curious with what come up there of like the role model sort of stuff. If you think some of the body synergy stuff that's happening is reverse role modeling for that child as well.
say again.
Uh, I know, like with the body synergy stuff, it's not things you're explicitly doing for that child to notice of
Yeah.
this is how you do stuff. But I'm curious if there's something from what you're doing with that that's naturally something these tiny humans are absorbing to redo themselves with their interactions back with you or with other kids.
Potentially, it's definitely got the capacity to do that. I haven't seen that play out necessarily. Children do innately work together on an elevation level and like all of that sort of stuff. The younger ones, so like 0 to 3s, which is where most of my interest is, just because I think there's quite a lot available for 4 and 5-year-old kinders, and I think that 0 to 3s is a really good time to do body synergy quite stuff. 0 to 3s are usually very adaptable to their peers. So if a baby is on the floor, they'll get down and they'll kind of like go and have a chat and stuff. But they're also just not very aware.
Yeah.
So they you do get like head-on collisions and like it's just someone that's watching a bird or an aeroplane just in the middle of the bike path type stuff. So there's not always going to be transferable stuff. But the role modeling is always, you don't get to choose when you're a role model. So the more you do it, the more they'll notice.
Yeah.
And you've also got the capacity to role model respect via body synergy as well, which is, how do we get each other's attention? Like, are we screaming across the room, or are we walking over to someone? Are we getting 1 point of sensory experience, or are we getting more than 1 point? Because if you're looking at someone and you touch them and you're talking to them, you've got a better chance of making sure that they're listening. So are children going to take that on board and then talk to their friends like that? That they take on so much. We all know that they take on so much. They'll pick up stuff that you might not want them to. So they're bound to get some of body synergy if you're role modeling it and using it quite a lot. I'd be surprised if they didn't.
The other thing about body synergy is it's still a model. I'd still call it in its infancy in regards to application. So we've had this model mapped out and we've been teaching it since late last year. So sub 1 year still, like the model itself is still a baby. And in regards to the kind of the data and the pattern detection on what happens relationally between children who have been around adults that know this model, we just don't have that data yet. So like what I'm curious about is as our tiny human, like I made him, I didn't. Um, like I'm curious to see what's going to happen with our tiny human, like as he gets older and he gets bigger and elevation, like the difference between his height and 3-year-olds becomes more different. Like how is he going to respond in those situations? Is body synergy like now implicit for him? Did he pick it? Like, is this one of the things that we've demonstrated so consistently that he's now got it in his body, but doesn't necessarily understand the model?
Yes.
So, like, to answer your question from that perspective, we don't know yet, which is simultaneously terrifying and exciting. Like, what's going to happen here? Like, how is this going to play out? My suspicion and my bias is that he will pick it up and then start applying it. But I've noticed like people that I've been around that have seen me interact with children then replicating things.
Yes.
So like, and those are adults, and children are even more malleable than adults are. So if adults are responding to us that way, my suspicion is that children will pick it up as well. Yeah.
Cool. So is this always only a one-day class, or you sometimes do it as a more stretched out thing with
Great question.
included, or
body synergy? If I was running a course just for body synergy, I would probably do it in a day. However, I am also this close to developing a whole 2.5 to 3 day parenting weekend, or like multiple day course, and body synergy would be embedded into that as one of the things that I teach. So I would introduce some of the other stuff that I've modeled from Monique. We have a model called the dyadic compass, and it's about basically role play. Like it's what roles go where and when. So it's a model about how to be responsive to what your child is presently doing. So if they're currently learning, like, do you occupy the space of a teacher? If they're this is one for the unresourceful stuff, is, are they currently fighting? Is there a little bit of a tension pattern going on? Is there a bit of a what do we call it, power struggle? So we call that particular half of a dyad fighter. So when the children are fighting, we choose lover instead of fighter. When you get a fighter-fighter dynamic, then no one's winning. If you get a fighter-lover dynamic, then you can get them de-escalated and kind of get not through that 6 minutes, but if you get to the end of that 6 minutes and you can occupy that lover dyad or that lover half of that dyad, you're more likely to like de-escalate sooner and resolve and negotiate things in a more meaningful and harmonious way, as opposed to as soon as they come out of that 6 minutes and you're like, all right, let's go. The fighter-fighter dyad is not the most useful one.
yes.
So this is a bunch of other stuff that I'll put into that course, just to pack a bunch of value into a weekend for parents. Again, I'll do the discovery thing, put a whole bunch of stuff in there so that people walk away going, what was that? Cool. Which is what we want. We want people, not necessarily like a little bit of a shakedown. Like, I don't want people walking out of it just being like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, I don't want that. I want people to feel like resourceful and like well equipped to deal with a bunch of different kinds of things. So body synergy is great for unconscious relating, body language stuff. The dyadic compass is great for a bunch of like what to do when, and like being responsive and flexible when children are in different spaces, because children aren't just children, right? This is state and context stuff. So a child isn't just a child. Sometimes they're learning, sometimes they're asking questions, sometimes they're feeling unresourceful, sometimes they're just playing by themselves. Sometimes it's genuinely like trying to herd cats. And at that moment, you've got to work out how to be a shepherd. It's really hard. So like this kind of puts a little bit of structure around what they're doing and when, and what your options are, which is cool. So I'd put a whole bunch of stuff in there for that. But to answer your question, I would probably only run body synergy as a one-day thing.
Yeah. You don't always run it on its own.
I would run it as a one-day thing, but yeah, I'd put it in other stuff. Yeah.
Cool. And with these workshops, people don't need to bring a child along and dysregulate that child to see how things work for this, do they?
I lovingly describe myself as a chaos human regularly. That's too chaotic for me. Mhm.
Yeah. Also, I can just play the role of a dysregulated child. That's, I mean, you know.
Well, we're doing a bunch of role playing, so that's fine. I'm sure we can find some adults that have lots of reference for dysregulated children and could occupy that space if we needed that. But I wouldn't say that we do, no. Are you offering? Do you have one?
A child,
I know you've got a child, but
he's not dysregulated that often.
good, okay.
I'm not going to get him dysregulated for you guys.
It's clearly not an offer. I was mistaken.
No,
Mistaken.
I'm more than happy to be a dysregulated child for you guys, though.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yep. One problem though, your limbs are longer than most children's are. So if you're throwing limbs, like we need to renegotiate this situation.
Yeah, and I can throw a Hot Wheels car harder than a 6-year-old can as well.
That's a fair point. So we can have you as a dysregulated child, but no Hot Wheels. Gotcha.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And to run these sort of workshops, like how many people do you need there?
Great question. Because there's so much discovery, it doesn't have to be many. Like I could comfortably run one of these courses for upwards of 4 to 6 people. So I'm not running, like I have no interest in running workshops for 100 people at a time. That's going to drastically affect value. So I much prefer like smaller and more intimate groups so that we can actually get into a bunch of stuff. I would run them starting at 4 to 6, and I'd probably cap it at about 12 to 14.
Mhm.
So we're still able to get a bunch of value for a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
And if people are curious about this and they've got like questions or want to read up more or contact you guys to see if they can get in on a workshop, is there a way they can do that?
Absolutely. So we have a website. Our business is called Meliadora Grove. I will spell that. Meliadora is a kind of eucalyptus. We wanted to pay our respects to Australian culture and Australian land. Meliadora is Meliodora Grove.
It will also be linked in the show notes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It will also be linked in the show notes.
Amazing. That makes it way easier. Here I was doing it the hard way.
Right.
Yeah, so we've got our website, we've got our Instagram as well. Anyone can either message us through the website or through Instagram, and you're welcome. I was going to say, are you welcome to put our details on the? Yeah, the website's probably easiest. I'm not sure I want my phone number in the show notes. That's probably not ideal for my sleep schedule.
Excellent. And you guys are based in Melbourne?
Yes.
Yep.
And you'd also talked about coming here to do Body Synergy in Maitland, New South Wales.
Yeah.
We had the 18th of September.
The 18th of September is the day. Yeah.
And it's like 9:30 till 4 o'clock.
9:30 to 4 o'clock. Yeah. And the 18th of September is a Friday, so it's a perfect way to start your weekend as well.
Fantastic. That's going to be cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited to be up there.
And I'm assuming if there was enough numbers at a certain centre that's hearing this somewhere around Australia that it was financially viable for you to go there, you should probably do that too.
100%.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any other quick tips for a parent out there of something they could do just to throw you under the bus one extra time?
One extra time. One for good measure.
Yeah.
I had a few ideas this morning. Let me gather my thoughts. Oh, I do have a very simple one. So sorry.
Excellent.
So sorry. The simplest thing that you can do to make sure that you are communicating clearly with your children is stop counting upwards from 1. They don't know where you're going to stop. It could be 3, 5, or 10. You could stop at 100.
Yes.
If you like to do countdowns, that's absolutely fine. We do them all the time at my house, but we start from the number and go backwards, because then you're always finishing at 1 or at 0, depending on your child. Mine likes 0.
Yes.
But yes, we will regularly say, hey, buddy, this is going to happen, or mama's going to do this. 3, 2, and then you always end at the same point.
Yes.
Because otherwise you kind of go 2, 2.5, 2 3/4. No,
Yeah.
just count backwards from 1. Oh, 2, 1.
It does.
Sorry, that's my little.
That's a good one. And Cass was about to say something as well there.
I was trying to buy Monique time, so I was being a little bit sneaky about it. I don't have anything as like clear and succinct as that, but something that is really prominent in my world, both in like this stuff and what I do for work, is the best thing you can be is a flexible human. And I don't mean stretch your muscles, I mean stretch your brain, like shifting into like other people's perspectives. How might this feel for the tiny human? Like, am I rushing them? Are they having fun right now? But we've got to go so I could make brunch with the girls. Like, just having a little bit of like flexibility in how you're going about the world. And I know that's really ambiguous. Like, I know that that's not very descriptive, but the more we start to think about how we can be flexible humans and where we can be flexible humans, the more things will start to shift. So there you go. That is my very ambiguous tip for humans everywhere.
Oh boy, am I glad I went first.
I've done the countdown thing instead of count up. But something I noticed, 'cause I haven't done that in a long time now. But something I noticed was if I found myself doing that, I'd be like, this is a thing he's not getting that we need to do or he doesn't want to do.
Mm,
And so I'd go, okay, next time before I bring up this thing, I'm going to give a 5-minute head notice.
yes.
You're like, oh, after we've done this, we'll be doing this.
Yeah.
And so then that's there. And then if there was still things with that, then I'd be like, oh, well, there's like a couple of heads up of like, we're in 5 minutes, we're going to do this. And we're nearly at the time we're about to do this. So let's do this one last move and then we're going to go into the thing. And it just seems to make things flow really easy because his head's getting this is the schedule. This is what happens, that the opposition isn't there when we get to the stage of we need to get going.
Yeah, because it's not a surprise. You're not interrupting him. He knew it was coming. Yeah.
Mhm.
We regularly in my house, or like while we're out, I'll give him a 5-minute warning for want of a better phrase, but I'll give him a 5-minute warning, I'll give him a 2-minute warning, I'll give him a 1-minute warning. And then what I actually do is I say, all right, it's time to do a 10. So we define that last little bit as a 10 and I'll count backwards from 10.
Yep.
That's like, it's time to turn the water off in the shower, buddy. We're going to do a 10, 10, 9, 8, all the way down. And he's so used to it that like people, like strangers, comment on it. Like at the shops, they're like,
How did that work?
that was way too easy. Why does it mind you that? Yeah.
I have it happen now that like he's telling me we're doing the thing half the time before else. Let's go.
He's like, I'm ready, preempted, ready to go. Good.
Well, thank you for your time. This has been wonderful. And I'm sure it's been helpful to somebody listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much for so much of your time.
Happy to do it.
Such a pleasure, Liz.
I've had an absolute blast. Thank you.
Excellent. Have a wonderful day.
Thank
You
you.
too.
You too.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode and perhaps learned something new. If you did, I'd love for you to subscribe or drop a review on whatever favourite podcatcher you have, or if you've been enjoying the video versions on YouTube or Facebook, do it there. If something really did click home for you with this episode, perhaps it could benefit one of your friends or family. If so, it'd really help if you shared this on your social medias. Until next time, you've been listening to Akasha Talks with Lance Baker.